all. My name is Dante Walters. I'm with the FLIP program and the Playasium. And what we're going to do today is a science experiment. We are going to create our own bubble solution. Now, in the last week and a half, you may have come by and picked up a Play for All kit from myself or one of the other FLIP facilitators. Okay? In that Play for All kit, there are many activities and things you can do at home with your children, but you may have run out of ideas and things you can do. So what we're going to do today, we're going to take out that fly swatter that was included inside. We're going to turn this into a bubble wand to go along with our homemade bubble solution. Okay? Now, the recipe I'm using today, I found on the internet. I've made it many times. There are, in fact, many different recipes you can find. Some call for variances in ingredients. The solution I'm going to make today with you guys, listed right here, okay? Calls for 6 cups of distilled water. If you don't have distilled water, that's okay. Regular tap water works just fine. Half cup of cornstarch, half cup of liquid dish soap. I'm using Dawn regular today. I've found that has given me the best results when I've made this recipe. You need a tablespoon of glycerin. Now, if you don't have glycerin, which is easily found at most of your big box retailers, if you don't have glycerin available, you can substitute it with light corn syrup. I would say just double check the recipe you're using to make sure you have the proper amount. And last but not least, you need a tablespoon of baking powder. If you look here on my recipe list, I kind of underline powder. There is a difference between baking powder and baking soda. Baking soda to a chemist is known as sodium bicarbonate, right? So when it heats up, it releases carbon dioxide, right? And that's what helps your baked goods rise, okay? And the difference is with baking powder, an acid has been added to the mix. It helps neutralize the base of the baking powder, the baking soda. And in our bubble solution, it will help our bubbles to fill a little bit better, rise a little better. So we're gonna use baking powder versus baking soda because we're not heating this up. So we're going to go over the ingredients real quick. We have our water here in this bowl. What I like to do is I like to mix my dry ingredients first. In the case of the cornstarch, I'm gonna introduce it to the water slowly, mixed in with a whisk or a spoon. Okay? And you just put a little bit in at a time, mix it around. Okay? Now what you'll find is that your cornstarch may not fully dissolve in the water. Okay? And that's to be expected, actually. It's okay. We still want to use the amount in the recipe, right? So you just keep on stirring in there slowly. If you introduce all of the cornstarch at once, you may get some large clumps, okay? If I were to stop mixing this, some of the cornstarch would settle at the bottom. And indeed, when you make your bubble solution, some of the cornstarch that has not dissolved will settle at the bottom. That's okay, just give it a little stir before you begin making your bubbles. Okay? So we're gonna keep adding in our cornstarch. Almost added the entire amount. Okay. Again, we're using some home, readily available, common household ingredients that you can create your own bubble solution at home. All right, that is the rest of our cornstarch. And yeah, I'm gonna mix it in a little bit more. All right. Now our cornstarch is incorporated into our water. We're gonna add a tablespoon of that baking powder. Okay. Now, if your measurements aren't exact, that's okay. This is homemade. You may find that a little bit less or more of some ingredients works a little bit better for you. Okay. That's the beauty of these homemade recipes. You can tailor it to your own preference. Okay. All right. Get that baking powder mixed in. glycerin next. All right. So we got our glycerin inside. We've added in. And give it a little stir. And then we're going to add our soap. Now it's important that when you add your soap, you really take your time. You want to mix it in fully, but you want to avoid making any foam or bubbles in your solution that will affect the outcome of your bubble solution. Okay? We call this a solution because we're adding dry ingredients to a liquid base here. Okay, I'm going to add my soap. It'll take time, but once you have all of your ingredients mixed fully, you can get right on to making bubbles. Okay, you can make them right away. You will find, however, that the bubbles you make initially will pop, or they may not fully form a bubble, and that's partly due to maybe weather conditions or not having like your bubble solution set up. So when I make this, I like to let it sit for about an hour before I start making bubbles. Okay. All right. We're gonna take our time whisking in our soap. It's gonna turn our bubble solution a nice kind of light or sky blue color. All right. Very milky due to the powders we've added in. So that's pretty much it. We have made our own homemade bubble solution. Again, you can make bubbles right away using this, but for the best bubble results, let it sit for an hour, okay? There's a lot of neat things happening in our bowl. Right? Some of that water will evaporate over that time. Set it aside, and while this is sitting, we can turn that fly swatter into our bubble wand. So as is, our fly swatter will make lots of bubbles, right? And there's a lot of different holes and voids within the surface of that fly swatter, okay? But you can alter it by taking a pair of scissors and essentially cutting out some of the netting, I guess we'll call it that. Give yourself some larger areas to help make larger bubbles, okay? But beyond this, we're gonna make something else. We're gonna make our own giant bubble wand. Right? So you can certainly use this if you want to preserve the integrity of your fly swatter, maybe have other uses for it. Let's make our own bubble wand. And to make our own giant bubble wand, you need two things, which you might already have at home. You will need drinking straws, two, and a length of string or yarn. Okay. As you can see, I've already created the giant bubble wand. And the way I did this is you need about 4.5, 5 feet of string or yarn. In the case of the straws, about 6 times the length of a single straw, right? And you simply thread your yarn or string through a straw, and then you thread the other end through the other straw. You tie it somewhere along the length. I lost my knot. But then you can use this with your bubble solution that we just created, okay? Letting it sit for about an hour. Then you can use something like a shallow pan. If you're using this giant bubble wand, you want to use a shallow pan so you can set it in fully, load that string up with that nice bubble solution we made, and then create your giant bubbles. All right, so now our bubble solution is sat for a little bit of time. I've actually played with it a little bit. Has not quite been an hour, but I couldn't wait. So I'm gonna show you guys what it looks like. I realized in the previous video, I did not show you, as you can see, hopefully, without spilling this. It is kind of a milky blue. As you can see, I've been playing with it a little bit. I made some bubbles, but kind of milky blue, right? Sky blue, as I mentioned before. And I have opted to not alter the fly swatter, but I will show you that this does indeed work. Okay. So what I did is I'm stirring the bottom of our solution up a little bit to kind of mix in that cornstarch a little bit more, get it going through. All right. And let it drip a little bit. So since I'm indoors, I don't want to make too much of a mess. But if I take my fly swatter and I made a bubble. There you go. So made our own homemade bubble solution. It does indeed work. And I assure you, if you use that giant bubble wand that we made together, okay, it will create some really large bubbles, but wait an hour. Wait that full hour before you start making your giant bubbles, all right? So I just wanted to show you guys the results and show you that it does indeed work. And I hope you enjoy the rest of your day. Bye-bye again.